Well, taking a live look now over Vatican City this morning, where in just hours, Cardinals will gather in the Sistine Chapel to begin choosing the next pope. And later today, more than 130 Cardinals are going to gather behind closed doors for that highly secretive conclave.
This process could take days, weeks, or even months. NBC's Jay Gray is at the Vatican this morning with a closer look at what comes next.
As the conclave begins, there's a sense this could mark an historic turning point for the Catholic faith.
Pope Francis really set Catholicism on a new course. Are we going to maintain that course, or are we going to retrench somehow?
If there is any division behind the locked doors of the Sistine Chapel, it will likely center on whether the Church continues and even expands progressive reforms initiated by Francis, or, as some conservative cardinals have suggested, returns to the more rigid roles, traditions, and doctrines that defined Catholicism for centuries.
Are we going to have a pope who gets up and says, Francis was a disaster, we need to go back to the old church? I don't think that's going to happen.
Vatican watchers say the new pope must be someone who, like Francis, can bridge the gap between factions within the church.
What Pope Francis did in emphasizing mercy, in terms of emphasizing meeting people where they are, listening to what is needed among the people of God, that defies labels of traditional versus progressive.
Those who will vote say any labels or leanings will not play a role in their decision.
We support whoever is the best person. We don't know. So, but we don't choose a pope based on continent, based on race, based on language. We choose a pope that is truly can be the successor of St. Peter. Yeah, the one who can look after the whole world.
As the whole world now waits to see who they choose. Jay Gray.
Well, Jay Gray joins us live now from Vatican City. Good morning, Jay.
Good morning. How are you ladies?
We are doing so well. I'm wondering, do you have any insight for how long the conclave could last?
It's interesting. I mean, highly secretive, obviously all taking place behind those huge wooden doors locked on the Sistine Chapel. If you look at modern history, the longest has been 5 days and most average a day and a half, 2 days. We've talked with some of the cardinals earlier in the week before this conclave began, and they've been saying 2 to 3 days. So it'll be interesting to see if there are any sticking points, if this takes a bit longer, or if they already have an idea of the direction they want this church to go and the man they want to lead it. We won't know until we see the white smoke. But again, most believe this is going to be a short conclave.
And Jay, you mentioned, of course, that this is a highly secretive process. I mean, anyone knows what happens behind those closed doors. Can you walk us through that? And also, a number of people are going to be waiting. It could be a vote as early as today.
Yeah, they'll have one vote this afternoon after they take their oath. And during that process, inside the Sistine Chapel, there is silence. No one speaks. There's no going back and forth. The only sound that is heard is the counting of the votes. So the time to discuss, the time to get to know one another, that's ended for the most part. Now, when they get into a regular routine, one vote today, there's never been an election on the first vote. So you get into the full day tomorrow, 2 in the morning, 2 in the afternoon, and in those break times, they can again try and steer the conversation to where they think this is going to end up. In the evenings, I'm told there is no curfew. They can talk and visit as long as they would like before the next day's vote.
Now, you mentioned this could be a turning point for the church. What makes this conclave different from past elections?
Well, I think what makes it different is the Pope that was in office before all of this. Pope Francis, loved by so many, and really changed some of the norms within the Catholic Church. Brought in those who had been disenfranchised at times, that didn't have a place they felt in the church. Also opened up some of the church leadership to women, which is something we haven't seen in the Catholic Church. So the rub comes with whether they're going to continue along that path, or some of the conservative cardinals have mentioned, if they're going to revert back to some of the traditions and some of the norms of the Catholic Church that it's carried for centuries and centuries. So if there's a tug of war inside this conclave, I think it'll be over that.
And what also makes this interesting is that this is the largest group ever of cardinals, and most of them have never participated in this process before. So how could that influence the outcome?
Oh, you're absolutely right. And many of them don't know each other. They've had some time pre-conclave to kind of get to know each other. But a vast majority, 108 of these cardinals have never been a part of the process. So they're kind of learning on the job, if you will. And they'll get a real taste of it this afternoon when they take their oath and then cast that first ballot.
All right, NBC's Jay Gray. Jay, thanks so much for joining us this morning.
Thank you, guys.
Well, stay with us here on WCNC Plus. Coming up at 7:30, we're going to speak live with Bishop Michael Martin, and that's happening live in our next half hour. You don't want to miss it here on WCNC Plus.